Welcome back to the Corporate Burnouts podcast. How you doing, Mandy?
Doing so good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Coming off of a um interesting weekend. How was your weekend?
It was so good. It was so good. The boys went camping. Samantha hung out with a friend, and I went to my hometown to be there for my nephew's show choir competition, which is quite the event. So many kids, so much singing and dancing, but it was so fun. I love it. So it was good family time. I had a good time.
I love that for you. I
Mhm.
like that you got to spend some time with the family. That's good.
Yeah.
My weekend was kind of opposite. My girls went to their dad's. I got a lot of housework done on Saturday. I have one kid. My youngest daughter left for a missions trip Sunday morning, so my Sunday was an actual Sunday fun day this week. I got to have a drink with a girlfriend, so it
Yes,
was
I'm so
good.
jelly. I did a little bit of work yesterday, which I try not to do on the weekends, but oh, Sunday fun day. Those are the best days, especially when it's a nice day out. You can just
Yeah, it was
relax
kind
and
of cold
enjoy.
here. It wasn't one of those super great days, but a kid-free weekend. It wasn't completely kid-free, but yesterday was, and it was nice to just
Yeah,
not
and
have,
relax.
not have the Sunday scaries.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
Like I I am so far removed from that feeling now that thinking about what that felt like before in the impending doom of the next week on a Sunday where it really kind of just hijacks your mental space on
Even on
Sundays.
Saturday, you're like, but in just 48 hours, I have to be in the office. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you didn't have the Sunday scaries anymore. I would take that very personally. Like, you do not want to come to work with me on Mondays. But
No, I love it here.
that goes right into what we're talking about today, which is corporate burnout, how to handle and get through corporate burnout. We were burnt out. We were so burnt out.
Yeah, but I don't think that I knew that I was burnout for a really long time. For like a really long time. I didn't know it. I was just like, yeah, this is normal stress.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I
everybody
just
feels
hustle.
this way,
Yeah.
right?
I just hustle.
Everybody
And
that
this little kid's
has,
like, mm-hmm,
a full life and a job, like feels this way.
yeah.
But I don't think that's the case. And I didn't see it until I was on the other side.
Yeah. And sometimes I didn't even know that I was having stress, right? I would be like, no, I have everything under control. I know where I'm going to be. I have all of my work caught up, my email inboxes. I don't have stress. And it's like, yeah, you still do have so much stress to the point of
Yeah,
burnout.
the anxiety of keeping
Hmm.
it all together and it's all fine as long as everything's together and you have all these, your calendar appointments are all lining up correctly and you got your laundry done in time to pack the suitcase on Sunday
Hmm.
night so that you could wake up at 3 a.m. on Monday and catch whatever flight you had to. As long as nothing got in the way of any of those tasks that you had lined up, everything felt fine.
Yeah. But it was building
But it
up to
wasn't
something.
fine. It
Well,
wasn't fine.
I don't think that I understood the difference between stress and burnout. And I bet that a lot of people don't. So I looked it up. I'm going to read it to you. So the main difference between stress and burnout is that stress is a response to a perceived threat. Okay.
Hmm.
In contrast, burnout is a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by a prolonged or excessive stress. So 8 years of stress causes burnout.
Causes burn. Yeah, like
Yeah.
one leads
Or
to the
six
other.
months
I
of
looked up the
stress.
I looked up the definition of burnout in general,
Mhm.
and it's very, very similar. But mine says it's the physical or mental collapse caused by overwork or stress. So when I look at the definition in that way, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. When I remember times where I mentally could not function in the way that I needed to because I just didn't have it in me. Like simple things where it's like, this, man. What are we doing? Where's the block? What's going on?
Yeah, no,
But
it takes you to that full like fight, flight, or freeze, and you're just freeze. I can't
Yeah, I'm
get past it.
frozen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I think back to that time and go, did we know that we were burned out? Right. And the answer was sometimes, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sometimes it was like, it's right under your nose. Did I cry 3 times this week? I'm burned out. That's not stress. Like I live my life in stress. My cortisol levels are high, right? And because I push myself too hard, and that's just in everything, right? But I never cry anymore. You know what I mean? Not in
Yeah,
general,
that's not a normal
obviously.
part of it.
No.
I can remember back to times where you and I and other members of our team would end our day with a three-way, four-way, sometimes five-way phone call about where we just had to bitch it out, right?
Mhm.
Just to get it off our chest. And that made me feel so much better. It didn't take it all away, right? But it like made
Mm-mm.
me feel better. Not just to get it all out. It made me feel better that I wasn't alone in it. But now that I'm looking back at it, I'm like, no, that was a red flag that we had to do that on a consistent basis because we would cry through those phone calls. We
Mhm.
would, sometimes have multiple of them a week. It was like I love that we were there for each other and we were able to hold each other up, but like we had to.
But we were putting
We
too
had
much
to. And
pressure on
that
ourselves,
yeah.
and then we had to get it all outside of our
Yeah.
body, which is good. Some people don't get it outside of their body, and then they're just stuck
And
in
that's
it.
when it becomes debilitating.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I it's so hard. Like it kind of makes my heart beat fast to think about going back to a time like that because I mean there were times where I would try everything in my power to get out of something that I wanted to do, something that I knew would be a fun part
Yeah.
of my job because I just couldn't imagine getting on that plane and being there for 7 days, or I couldn't imagine actually doing that task, what it took to get there. And that isn't healthy. You know what I mean? Like there's one thing, the Sunday scaries, I don't want to go to work on Monday. Like I think a lot of people feel that way. They're like,
Some of that
it's
is
so
really normal.
so fun to be home on the weekend and do whatever you want. And like that's pretty normal. People don't want to go to work on Monday
Yeah.
mornings. But when you feel almost fear, you know what I mean? Because you have such anxiety about something, again, that I wanted most of the time to do. I was excited to see people or whatever. And I still would be like, how can I get out of this? Right. And that is, you're in full burnout
I'm
at
like
that point.
begging one of my kids to be sick. Like, can you have a fever? Maybe.
Maybe would you just
No.
get
And then you're
sick?
like, I don't want to lie about it. You can't like, be the boy who cried wolf and
Yeah.
make an excuse for something. And then later when there really is an issue, it's like, how is this an issue for you all the time? Like
Yeah.
that, but when you find yourself trying to come up with an excuse to get out of something, especially something that you really enjoy doing, like, we had one of those really cool jobs. And even though it was one of those really cool jobs, it still came with all of the stress and all of the things that, make it really hard. But part of that really cool job was going on different trips and entertaining managers. And I'm like, I can remember early on being so excited about all of those events and things that we got to do. And then it came down to, the last few years, and there were trips scheduled to where we were going to places that I'd never been before, and I knew that it was going to be fun. Of course, it was going to be work, right? Like it wasn't all play, but it'd be like, oh, do I have to go?
Yeah.
Do you have to go on this free expense paid getaway that's not
No, there's a lot of work,
completely
but
fun,
yeah.
but yeah, but it's like this is the best part of your job and you're
Mhm.
begging to get to stay home.
Yep. There was supposed
There's something off there.
Yeah, there was right before the COVID lockdown. I was supposed to go to San Diego. And I wanted to go to San Diego because I was going to get to see Mace, and I was it was going to be nice out. It was February in Missouri. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
it was going to be awesome to be in San Diego. And I was just so burnt out. Like, I couldn't see the paperwork side of the job, like lifting to be able to do this part that I needed to do. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I can't see how this can work out. Right. And Dale, if you're listening, I lied to you because I couldn't have the hard conversation of I don't think that I can get myself on an airplane because I'm having an anxiety attack about this, like for whatever reason. So I was like, I don't feel safe with COVID. And, it was just like starting to be in the news in the Midwest. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like um,
Yeah.
it was weeks out from the lockdown when they were finally like, you should be scared of this. But I kind of used that as an excuse. And I should have, one of the best things to do when you're feeling this burnout is to have a real conversation. I know that not all bosses will allow you to have feelings. My bosses all did let me have feelings. There were, personal
Yeah.
days allowed for things like this. But it was so hard to tell somebody I'm freaking failing because I can't get my anxiety under control because I've been feeling stressed for so long. And, you know, burnout to most bosses is probably not a great excuse, but there are conversations that can be had where they have to understand that it's let's pull back on something or I'm going to implode and then you don't have me as an employee anymore,
Yeah. Then you
not
don't
an
have me at all.
right, not an ultimatum, but just like this is the real life of it. I might be in a mental hospital, right? If we don't slow something down because I'm driving myself crazy, you know.
Yeah. And I wish that I had slowed down enough to think through what was really going on with me to identify that A, I was burnout, be able to have that conversation, and then figure out what I could do about it. And I think what I eventually learned was that I needed a complete change of lifestyle. Not just because I was burnout, I had other factors at play with wanting to be home with my kids and that sort of thing, but with all of that, you know, in retrospect, it's like thinking about if I had had the conversations about what I was feeling, I don't know what could have been done about it, whether it was a difference in expectation, a difference in maybe coaching and how I was blocking my own time and able to get things accomplished. Because I think, when I look at what you can do to not be burnout, my immediate instinct is to be in control of the chaos. Our work wasn't going to be any less, right? But we had to be on top of it. We had to be ahead of it. And it's exactly to your point. You were saying, I didn't feel like I was stressed because I was on top of everything. I had everything lined out. But when you do that for so long, it actually morphs into something more and it has more effects on you than just, oh, I don't want to work here, right? There's actual physical effects that it does to your body and inside your brain. Mandy, I mean, you dealt with that. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many conversations we had about this. Tell me about your headaches.
Yeah. So I had such bad headaches and I thought that they were all sinus headaches. So like we traveled. So I thought, like I get to this place and the pressure is different or, whatever. So I just assumed that when I would get to a different city, I was going to have a headache because just things are different there.
Yeah.
And
Because you're
really,
up and then down and it's somewhere else. And
yeah,
yeah.
and the pressure, I mean, my ears are so screwed up and so sometimes I would land off an airplane and feel like my head was going to actually explode like I was being stabbed with knives in my ears.
Hmm.
And so all of that was just, I mean, that's just my chronic stupid ears, but I I thought that it was just a thing that happened because I was traveling so much and I it was crazy. I quit in like July. And in maybe September, I was like, I haven't had a headache in 2 months, right? And the weather up and down changes all over here,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, I haven't had any headaches, not at all, not one.
Yeah, and it's not as though you stopped traveling, right? Like you still travel for
Right.
fun, you still
Yes.
do things. It
Yep.
just affected you very differently.
Yeah. And it just, it was the same with, I have endometriosis. If anyone knows what that is, I'm sorry that you have that. But I was having such crazy pain, like every single day pain, which is not how it is now. I mean, obviously it ebbs and flows, but I was having pain every single day and I didn't have any pain, like zero pain, for the couple months after I got done with the job. And obviously, new stressors came from starting a business, like, so some of those things
Yeah.
came back just not nearly as like, attacking, but I couldn't believe it. And so then you go into your deep dive of self care and all of this wellness stuff that can help me manage all of that. And that stress really does affect your health and your mental health, but so much your physical health you would never know. And so now I do everything in my power to keep my stress levels down so that I can feel good and just be more present in life. It was a
You
huge deal.
know, I think that like it just completely affected the two of us differently. For me, it came in the form of like brain fog, right? Like I mentioned a while ago about sitting down to do a task and it's like, this information, like, why are you making this hard for yourself? Where it's like, I stopped remembering things that I typically would, like, my kid's gonna tell me we've got something after school on whatever day, and it's like, oh yeah, you did tell me that. I'm not on top of it, and it felt like I was living in a little bit of a there's a mist, right? And I can't see quite through it. I got to get a little closer to it. Where you have to slow down. I can remember getting formulas wrong on spreadsheets, and it's like, what are you doing? Like you've got this. You know this stuff. Why are we breaking down? And then it would be like, okay, I have to step away from this. I have to give myself a break. And I would have those times where you go to sleep, right? You try to get some rest, and then you would wake up in the morning and feel just as exhausted. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
don't wake up from sleep and feeling rested, there is a problem. There is a problem. And I
Yeah.
think that stress plays a massive role in that.
And especially like we're talking about burnout. This is prolonged stress, right? So
Yeah.
it adds up and it creates these huge problems in your life, and not just, I mean, we're not even talking about the relationship things that it creates because when we're feeling full burnout, when we're feeling stress, we even the best person is letting that out a little bit at a time on somebody, if not completely taking it out on
Having
somebody.
full meltdowns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't have kids, but I guarantee that your kids at some point were like, why is my mom bawling for no reason? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that they would be
Yes.
like, what is
That for
happening?
sure happens.
But
They're
it's
like,
like,
"Are you okay?"
yeah, it's like, I don't even know why I'm crying, to be completely honest. Nothing happened. I just hit the wall, like
I can
it
tell
finally
you,
hit.
I I did have a meltdown about gushers, the little fruit snack
I
things.
love
I bought
gushers.
a box. They were for me.
Oh
I
my
did
gosh.
not buy them for
No,
the
I
children.
remember this.
And I found I forgot that I'd bought them. I go to look for them and they're not in the pantry. I'm like, where do they go? Like what? So I go searching kids' rooms and I'm going through stuff and I found wrappers stuck here and there and I'm like yelling at the kids and they're like, relax, mom, it's just gushers. Like we can buy more. And I'm like, no, where's the box? Where I found it. I found it hidden in a closet a long, long time later, but it's still a conversation that we have when they're like, remember that time that you had a full-on freak out about gushers? And I'm like, yes, thank you for the reminder. But like looking back, it's like that just happened to be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, when you're feeling that way. And I mean, to be fair, like, don't fuck with my food. You know what I mean? Like if I'm looking forward to a snack and it's gone, it happens. And like I live in a house with kids. There are things I'm like, there was a whole box of donuts and I just wanted one donut. And but they ate
Yeah, I
them.
just wanted one, man.
And the thing is that it's okay if they eat all the donuts because actually, I mean, you bought those gushers for you, but those donuts were not bought for me. But like I knew that they were there. So, right. And so
So I wanted them.
if I am feeling on the brink of, burnout or in full burnout, and you screw with those donuts that weren't even technically mine, yeah,
Yeah.
I will lose my mind because when you're looking forward to something, there's something that can actually make your day just a little bit better when you're feeling that way. Mm, Screw you for taking
And I
my
don't even think it's
gushers.
just about the food. Like that's a really specific one, but like even plans. If I've been looking forward to something and that's kind of what I've been using to get through a week or get
Mhm.
through a task or whatever, then something changes and we're going to do something different or you just don't want to like that can throw me into a tailspin because this was my survival this week, looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Whether it was I needed that damn donut. I waited
Mhm.
2 hours, I was doing that work, but I've been thinking about that donut the whole time and now it's
Mhm.
gone.
Yeah.
Or the plans for the weekend have changed. Like,
Yeah.
and that is where, to your point, you start taking things out on other people and making huge issues of something that's not a big deal.
Yep. Yep. It's
And
not the
you
best
start to
part.
have massive fights about things that you're fighting about something that might be real, right? Like
Mhm.
we changed plans, we did something like you're having a real conversation, but all of the emotions behind it, those emotions were meant for this thing over here that is burnout, right? You've collapsed mentally, emotionally, physically because of this prolonged stress until it explodes in other areas of your life. And um, if we can alleviate any of that for our listeners, for each other, I mean, it really is a game changer to get out of that cycle.
Yeah. I completely agree. So I want to just list off a couple of strategies for recovery of burnout, right? Because what we did
Yes.
is we just buried it deep until we left, right? And so
Yeah,
we
we
would
had
get
to
it back
bounce.
under control for a while, but it never completely went away because we never had the right conversations. We never, did all the work to make it go away. And leaving was the best option for us to break that cycle, right? But
Yeah.
if you're not trying to leave, some of the strategies for recovery and prevention are setting boundaries. All right. How to say no without guilt. That's something that, again, like you just have to have a conversation. Managing stress. All right. So, practical self care strategies. If you don't follow um, some people who talk about meditation, sound therapy, all these different things, Reiki. There's so many people that I didn't know about when I was in corporate because I hadn't like made local relationships with small businesses. But now that I network so much, I've met all these people and they have so many remedies for stress that are just relaxing self care that I do now that helps so much. I would look for those. Work life balance, how to disconnect from work mentally and emotionally. Obviously, we talked about work life balance in our last episode, and that we talked about that we had a hard time with that, and
Yeah.
and so do your best to figure it out. Go back and listen, episode 2, and advocating for yourself, how to push back against unreasonable demands. Do not
Yeah.
do that
Every
one
single one
first.
of these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single one of these things that you just listed to me, I could equate that as put your big girl panties on and stand up for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it boils down to. You have to be able to have the tough conversations to say, hey, this isn't working for me in this way. I need help. And be able to have that conversation, whether it's with your partner or with your boss, your leader at work, where you can make an impact and hopefully for some of those of you listening, you'll be able to identify, oh, this is creeping up on me, and I'm going to be able to fix this now. Like, I need to take some steps to fix this now to where you don't completely crash and burn, because that does nothing for your life or the lives of the people around you. But what it boils down to is identifying that you're there, acknowledging it, and taking steps to channel that stress elsewhere and get rid of it so that you can keep moving through the daily grind because the work doesn't go away. You just have to find a way to healthily to deal with it in a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And if this isn't something, that people have already done, then take these steps, figure out how to stand up for yourself and set your boundaries and figure out your work-life balance and just try and manage it so much better. If you've already tried all of these things, all right, that might be a sign that it's time to go. Your red flags are flying everywhere, right? So you have to maybe look elsewhere. Is there another job? Is there
Yeah.
another industry? Is there another way to do this? Because you've tried the things, they didn't work because you don't have a situation or a boss or a corporation that is going to let you do that. It might be time to go.
Yeah. I like to do a pro and con list. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
feels very Rory Gilmore, but it works for me. And when I sat down and took stock of all of the things that I was going to um, love about leaving, the things that I was going to miss if I didn't stay, those sort of things. And my list for leaving just completely outweighed staying. And I think that you really have to get down to the nitty gritty of what is the most important to you. And the way that I was feeling, the way that I was feeling about myself, the way that I was feeling about the way that I showed up in my life, and just overall my mental health, like I know hands down that I made the right decision. But I do think that there are things that I could have tried to make it more bearable and enjoyable, and I probably could have kept going had I used some of these techniques. But I was
Mm-hmm.
so in the grind that it's like you can't when you can't see the forest for the trees. It's like when you're so deep in it and you can't see the way out. You just have to start with one thing. Sit down, make a list, and if it is too much, maybe you're on the wrong track.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell some other people's stories?
I do. I do. So we we love Reddit. So we got on Reddit and we were looking for good stories where people talked about that they were so burned out and but they want to know if they're the asshole about the things that, they want to do here. So I'm going to read this first one. This is from
Okay.
Reddit. Would I be the asshole for using this line in a discussion? All right.
Can't wait.
So we gotta tell you what the line is. Okay, so I 38 male want to be a stay-at-home dad. I've been a teacher for 7 years and have really started feeling the burnout and am at a loss for other career options. My wife, 37 female, is a corporate lawyer who makes at least 7 times as much money. That's a lot of money. I've never been a
I want
competitive
that.
or huh?
I want that.
I've never been a competitive or ambitious guy in the capitalist sense. I love my wife and my 2 small kids, and just being with them, hanging out, doing whatever is the thing that brings me the most joy. So he finds joy in being with his family. I would like to be a stay at home dad, but I don't think my wife would ever be on board. I'm pretty disorganized, if I'm being honest, and not great at planning things. I think I'd have more time and energy for these things if I was just a full time dad. Anyways, this line keeps bubbling up in my head, and I don't know if I'll ever say it out loud. Are you ready for the line?
Yeah.
If I were a 38-year-old woman who wanted to leave teaching to be a stay at home mom, nobody would so much as blink. That's what he wants to say. Would I be the
Oh, so we're
asshole?
gonna make this a gender thing. Okay.
A little bit. Would I be the asshole for deploying a thought like this? Or am I better off keeping it inside my head? What do you think?
I kind of think he's the asshole.
Reddit also thinks that he's the asshole. Um, and the reason that I agree with them is that this is all preemptive. He has not had this conversation, right?
Yeah,
His wife clearly makes enough money for him not to work. However, he needs to have the conversation first and find out. I mean, he seems to know her and know that she probably isn't going to be on board with this. Um, but I think that
it sounds like she's a very successful woman who probably
yes,
values her work a lot and
mm-hmm.
appreciates others who do the same.
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
don't know if he
I've
feels like he wouldn't be respected if he
mm-hmm,
didn't work. But to your point, like that is all in a conversation. And
mm-hmm,
if that's what you really want with your life and you can't have that discussion with your partner and you're going to preemptively flip the script and be like, well, if I was a woman, things would be different. You might be right. You might be right.
mm-hmm. Yeah, stay-at-home dads are not nearly as prevalent. And or who knows, respected. I think that I would respect a stay-at-home dad if he was a real stay-at-home dad who did all the work. You know what I mean?
He
Like who
did things,
was,
but you're telling me that you're disorganized. You're telling me that you're not on top of your crap. So it sounds like you don't know what it means to be the stay-at-home parent,
yeah.
right? Like most stay-at-home moms that I know work just as hard, if not harder, than those who get to leave the home and go do their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always that simple. And I think that not having a full-time job where you leave the home does not mean that there's not plenty of work to be done at home, and it might look like the grass is greener, but I don't know if it really is.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll say that if he was looking for advice on actually what to say, I would
Mm-hmm.
say to him, burnout is real. And like we talked about in this episode, you sometimes take your burnout out on your family, right? And
Yeah.
so if you go to her and say, I am burned out, I know I'm not the best version of myself for our family, I find so much joy in being with our family and taking care of our family. What if I did that full time, right? I think that most people would at least see your point. You know what I mean? Like it's at least
Yeah.
more of an argument than but women can do it and no one would blink. It's like that's not the first swing that you take at that. I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if we're talking about your partner, somebody who loves you, you should be able to have that conversation about how you're feeling regardless. And
Yeah.
she's going to care about you and your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you don't go at it from the I'd like to be a stay-at-home dad forever, but I do need to get out of this job.
Yeah.
This job
Let's
isn't
try
working for
this.
me.
Right.
I would like to try this for a bit. And if it works, great. If it's better for the entire family, then it's not even a conversation. You just keep doing it. If
Mm-hmm.
you suck at it, though, you probably need to figure out what your next career move is,
Yeah.
in all fairness to the
Mm-hmm.
family. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that the cop out of like, well, if I was a woman, people wouldn't think, negatively
Mm-hmm.
about this. You're probably right, but yeah, if that's the first place that you're going in your mind, that kind of makes you the asshole.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I got one. You want to hear it?
I do.
All right. This one is from Champion Sensitive. Oh, wow. Am I the asshole for quitting a job my friend helped me get after realizing I just can't handle it anymore? I work at a big fast food coffee type corporation. I'm in a difficult situation. My friend got me in, but I didn't realize the whirlpool that it was about to open. I always stay late. I come in when I'm needed. And now that I'm sick, I feel like I'm guilted for not coming in, and my reputation should concern me as well, according to them. I'm not paid enough to care this deeply, but truly it hurts to hear. But I bust my butt every time I'm in. I always stay late because no one else is scheduled, and I don't want to leave my coworkers hanging. I've gotten fed up, and I can't even sleep without having nightmares about work. It's just no longer healthy for me. I feel my mind and body have reached a burnout. My friend helped me get the job, only truly checks on me when I have a shift with them, and the next day I feel like our friendship has become distant unless they feel, I'm sorry, unless they need a friend to talk on the phone. But when I'm not good, it's a different story. They only reach out to gauge coverage instead of a friend seeing if you're okay. My boss seems fine with it. I'm leaving for health concerns. But my friend keeps trying to bring up benefits as to why I should stay. I cry every day. I've been sick on and off nonstop because calling out too much is bad, even though I mainly find coverage. A skeleton crew is not my fault. My health is in decline and my job isn't helping. I just wish my friend would be more understanding that it's not me. It's the company. I'm not purposefully giving up on people. I would never make them feel that way. Even if she means to help, it comes across hurtful and like I'm an inconvenience. Am I the asshole for putting in my resignation because of my health in decline, but my friend seems so upset?
Not the asshole.
No, I
Not
don't
at
think you're an
all.
asshole at all.
I think her friend's an
It's either a
asshole.
fit for you or it's not. Yeah, I was going to say your friend is a jerk. Your friend is a jerk for expecting you to keep doing something that is physically harming you.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Mm-mm. No, it's not. And I don't know if the stress and burnout is causing, more health issues, or if the health issues are causing more stress and burnout because now she's, kind of burning at both ends.
Yeah, she's
But
got two stressors.
yeah, but screw her friend. I'm mad. Like, I'm mad about her friend because it's like, yeah, you got the job. I have gotten people jobs and been like, you got to freaking try, like I put my name on you, right?
Yeah, don't
I'm
make me look
in my
bad. Yeah.
early, yeah, in my early 20s, obviously. Not since then have I had a friend just perform so terribly, but like in my early 20s. And I'm like, I put my name on this, right? But at the same time, that's not anything where I wouldn't support a friend, especially in a situation like this, right? Like, come to work, but like, if you can't come to work, this is not the job for you, you know? But
Right.
she's being selfish because she's like, I probably have to work more if you don't work. And, like I have to be the one to come in early and stay late. And it's like, at least you can handle
Yeah,
it because you're not sick.
it's just not being looked at from the right perspective. I mean, hire some more people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that complicated. Like, it's really not that deep. Get some
Mm-hmm.
more people. You obviously know that I have health concerns and that I can't always come in. So, either, to be fair, I think you're an asshole for staying in the job.
Mm-hmm.
You're not an asshole for leaving because of your health declines. You're an asshole if you stay
Yes.
because you just make life harder. If you leave, then they are forced to replace you with somebody who can pull the entire workload. If you stay, and you can't contribute in the way that you're needed, now your health is declining and they don't have a great employee. Like, what are
Mm-hmm.
you doing? I
Yeah.
agree with you. The friend is an asshole because they're not looking at it from the right perspective, and it doesn't sound like they're really your friend.
No, no, they don't care about your well being as much as their work life. And that's not fair. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. That was a good story, though.
Agreed.
This was a good episode. I had fun talking to you about this. We definitely
Yeah, I
relived
have
this.
fun not feeling burnout anymore and
Yeah.
not dealing with the Sunday scaries. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's Monday morning and I'm happy to be here.
Yes, it is good. Mondays are good now. They're so much better. Wow. All right. Well, thank you. I am going to tell everyone where they can find us. So you can find us on TikTok at the Corporate Burnouts, on Instagram, Facebook at the Corporate Burnouts Podcast. Um, you can find us at thecorporateburnouts.com. And we really want you to share your stories and secrets. There's two separate places on the website where you can just share a story. Um, we have you put your name and your email so that we can ask questions if there's things that are unclear. For your secrets, we made something that's completely anonymous. So it's just sharing that secret with us. We want to read these on the podcast. Sometimes you feel like you have something that's just like like bubbling up inside you. You need to tell somebody, but you can't because you get in trouble at work or whatever. We want to tell your story. We want to tell your secrets about the coworkers, about the boss, about the crazy shit that
Yeah.
happened and who's sleeping with who. We want to share all your corporate drama. So please go
We're
on the
here for
website.
the drama. We don't want to be a part of your drama, but we
No.
want to read all about it. We'll bring the
Yes.
popcorn.
Yes. So please
Thanks
put
for the
those on the
chat,
website.
Mandy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll talk next week.
All
Bye.
right, bye.